Thanks very much for lending me an hour of your time on this beautiful, yet chilly day, actually, to discuss a topic that's very close to my heart. I have a few slides to go through, and they will be peppered with some live performance as well. So without further ado, let's get started. Okay, here's how I'll divide things up. As you can see, I've been extremely innovative with this slide, and it really adds a lot of value to the presentation. So part one will all be about drama. Part two is going to be about tension. Can anybody guess what part three is going to be about? No, part three is going to be about relief. Yeah, you're right. And after each section, I'm going to try and illustrate the points that I made by playing you an example of what I mean, using one of my own songs. And I do have a couple of activities that we can do as well, if we have the time to do so. Is anybody here in the middle of writing a song? Is anybody... Cool. And is anybody an experienced songwriter, potentially more experienced than me? Yeah?
Not more experienced.
Okay, cool. And is anybody just here for the fun of it, just to kind of listen? Yeah? Okay, nice, great. Well, welcome everybody. And thanks very much for coming and not having me just talk to an empty room. It's really nice. Yeah, me too. So I'm going to do a little question and answer session at the end, if we have time and if you have questions. But first of all, a little bit about me. So, why am I even qualified to talk about songwriting? Well, if you ask the wrong person, I'm not qualified to talk about songwriting because I haven't written a hit song, nor do I currently make a living out of songwriting. I did actually once try to, and I wouldn't say I failed, but I definitely don't have a mansion from the proceeds. But that said, I did write my first song when I was 9 years old. It was called Running Through My Pockets, and I wrote it on a trip to Australia in the back of my parents' car. And ever since then, I've been writing songs. So here's a bit of a timeline of where songwriting has taken me. When I was 18, I was at the University of London, and I won a songwriting competition. And I actually met Ed Sheeran there at that songwriting competition, which was pretty cool. We did not stay in touch, unfortunately, but he was very nice in the moment. And in 2018, I was actually asked to support a larger artist in the UK called Paul Heaton, and I played at the Royal Albert Hall, which was really, really cool. And it was really cool. It was really, really cool. In front of a crowd. He sold the Royal Albert Hall out, and it was 5,000 people, so it was really, really awesome. Following that, I had a song called Teddy Bear, it was played on national radio in the UK, and another song called Saturday Night was put on a Spotify editorial playlist, which was really cool. The playlist was called Hot New Bands. I did not tell them that it was just me, there was no band involved, so they kept it on there for a little bit. And then in 2021 and 2022, I won a couple of grants in the UK to self-produce a debut album, and that was called Logic Projects. And it's kind of a play on words, because I used the software Apple Logic to produce the album. And then, since coming here, I came to Virginia, and I've had a bit of airplay on WHRO. I was on Wavy TV 10 recently, and just last Friday I was on WKTR 3 on the morning program playing my stuff. So that is what songwriting has done for me. And more importantly, I think I've been thinking about writing songs for a long time, even if it hasn't been paying my bills. So I think it's a really great way for anybody to express themselves. I should also say that I know this is a film festival, but I've composed scores as well for a few different films. One of us in the BFI Film Festival as well. So that's a little bit about me, and that's enough bragging for now. But I'm going to talk about 3 distinct but interrelated elements of songs and songwriting. So without further ado, let's begin. Dun, dun, dun. That's what I'm hoping this font says. Okay, part 1 is drama. And I should say as well that as we go through this, please interrupt me. We will have a question and answer session at the end, but if you have any questions along the way, feel free to interrupt me. Okay, let me begin with a disclaimer. I'm going to talk about songwriting in the ideal, rather than what I believe I've managed to achieve. It's more about what I'm striving for. So let's talk about drama in this context. I want you to think about each song you listen to and or write as a 3-minute long story or event that creates its own world through music, lyric, and expression. That may be either a story in the traditional sense, with a beginning, middle, and end, or the story of a moment or feeling. Now why, tell me why, do we find stories interesting? Because they contain drama. And songs are no exception. And what do you mean by drama? I hear you say. I mean an exciting, emotional, or unexpected series of events or set of circumstances. But what about songs that don't really contain much action? Well, they're either pretty boring, or they do in fact contain a lot of drama, but perhaps not in the conventional sense. They might convey a feeling that has been taken and twisted and exaggerated to the maximum in order to generate a moment of very real, very human, very subtle, but very cutting drama. Can anybody think of an example of a song that doesn't have much action but has a lot of drama? And I have an answer if we can't think of anybody. Can anybody think of that? Or do any of your poems?
Well, I'm just thinking of Hallelujah.
Hallelujah, yeah.
I mean, very little happens, but the depth of the feeling is unavoidable. It hits you.
Yes, yeah. And would you say it's dramatic in that sense? Yeah, I would agree with that, definitely. But yeah, so the key line in that is, it's been a good year for the roses, which, hence the title. And that is a way of talking in a very slanted way about something that's very, very banal to try and convey a deeper feeling. And I think there's some real drama that comes from the tension between what he's actually saying and what he actually means. And that is, songwriting is a great way to convey feelings through metaphor and to sort of really express yourself in a way that isn't necessarily obvious at first glance. That's my point here. And these moments, there are all moments in our lives when our senses are heightened, when we feel like the emotion that we feel can cripple us or is full of elation. And I think if you subscribe to what this chap, Pat Patterson, says, who is a professor at the Berklee School of Music, that a song is simply natural speech, exaggerated. It's quite an interesting statement. Then surely the best way to capture an exaggerated feeling or an exaggerated moment is through song, in my opinion. But how do we create drama? Well, one way of doing this is through theme. So let's think love, think death. And actually love and death probably covers most of it, definitely in my songs. But there's also pride, hubris, the passing of time, loss, murder. That's kind of death, I guess. But all the capital G Greek things, these are all themes that lots of songs delve into. But that's not to say that you can't write a song about more banal topics. I have a song about Skittles, the sweet Skittles. It goes down pretty well in the right crowd. But what I'm saying is, if you want to write about something really banal, like a dining room table, then you're going to have to spice it up a little bit. Was it the surface upon which a great crime was plotted? Did it bear witness to generations of family feuds? Or were its legs carved from the wood of a shipwrecked vessel? Maybe. That sounds more like poetry, actually. We're entering that realm. But what I'm saying here is that, in my opinion, good songwriting is just another form of good writing. And good writing makes you want to continue, read the next line, or listen to the next line in this case. And one way to do that, one way to encourage people to carry on is to create drama and all the different tools that comes with. So throw a spanner in the works next time you write a song. Take something that is the status quo, the normal state of events, and shake it up a little, disrupt it, and you'll find a whole new world opens up. Another way of creating drama is through word choice. Now, obviously I'm talking here about songs that contain words. Many songs don't contain words. There are a couple of key things that make for a cohesive experience when it comes to word choice. For example, the lexicon of a song. A lexicon is just a fancy way of saying the word family of a song. Do you have a number of words or phrases in the song that belong to the same theme? If you're writing a song about a feeling, you'll probably have a lot of emotive language. You might use words like feel, need, hope, despair. If you're writing a song about a table, you might have a lot of wood metaphors. That's a very bad joke that I put in here in reference to the previous table reference. So apologies for that, but it's not a comedy class. So, but on the subject of metaphor, it can be really nice actually to take a set of words that all relate to one theme and apply them to a seemingly unrelated situation or circumstance. And what I mean by that is in my songs I often use words to do with food to describe things that aren't about food. So for instance, the song Teddy Bear that I introduced before, the song is actually, and don't judge me for this, it's about a guy who kills his girlfriend because he loves her. And it's not autobiographical. My girlfriend's right there. So she's still alive, I promise.
So far, so good.
So far, we're all good, yeah. But I have a line in there about her creamy eyes. And in another song called Hit Me Hard, which is about someone who falls in love with a person that they know is going to destroy them, I have a line that goes, "You're as good as golden apple pie with creme anglaise." And this, I didn't plan for that kind of came out naturally. But I quite like the way that you can use a set of metaphors in a slanted way to access the theme that you're looking to convey. And when it comes to language, ideally you want everything to be pulling in the same direction. You want to create a lexical web of interconnectedness that carries the listener through the song. So next time you're writing, try applying a related set of metaphors in an unusual way. You might use colours to talk about your friendships, or, I don't know why I put this one in here, social media themed words to talk about murder. There's that murder again. Need to get something out. And dual meaning is something I'll come back to in part 3, but here's a great example of what I mean are songs like Red by Taylor Swift, and a personal favourite of mine, this is an oldie, if anybody likes Bob Dylan. Has anybody heard the song Lily Rose Wearing the Jack of Hearts? Do we know that one? Yeah. Such a great song, I think. It's kind of traditional storytelling. Again, it's about somebody who gets killed, but all the way through the metaphor of playing cards is used to describe the character of each of the people involved, which is really, really cool. I know there's been a lot of mention of murder, but I promise you I'm not into that. Anyway, I'm going to play you a song now. I'm going to play Hit Me Hard. So, and I haven't done too much of a warm-up, so if I mess it up, I'm sorry, but let's try. And as we go through, what I'd really like for you is to think about the theme and how the theme and the language might help to convey a sense of drama. Did you conquest all those countries, honey? Did you push the prince and steal his money? 'Cause I don't did believe that you did any of those dastardly deeds. And the bold princess you molded in hell, well, they can melt me down and mold me as well. To me, you're good as gold, an apple pie, a crown good. Someday soon I'm sensing it's the end of our day. So if you're gonna hit me hard, so that I fall. 'Cause I don't want to witness anything
sing at all. If you're gonna break me, make it soon. I don't want this to bloom because you're my honey bunny thief. You stole the spoils from my heart. Well, I could never fight you, honey, but I know your teeth are sharp, you need to bite. So what? It seems I'm beginning to see it could be any day that someone is free. But if you're gonna burn me and make it hot, to bet I'm not where it's you who sees me crumble when I fall. If you're gonna break me, make it soon. I don't want this to loom because you're my sugar-coated criminal, and I knew it at the start, right at the start. No, don't let me go. I'll never let you let me go. No, don't let me go. I'll never let you let me go. No, don't let me go. I'll never let you let me go. No, don't let me go. I'll never let you let me go. But if you're gonna hit me hard, so that I fall, 'cause I don't want to witness anything at all. If you're gonna burn me and make it hot, I don't want this to bloom because you're my honey bunny thief. You stole the spoils from my heart. You're my sugar-coated criminal, and I knew it at the start. You're my poison pepper peach, and you were juicy sweet at the beginning, but now it's the end. I'm gonna miss you. There you go. Thanks.
Thanks. I was a bit nervous there, took me a while to get into that. But yeah, any immediate feedback about theme or language that you heard, that you picked up on? Anybody willing to be brave and have a go? Yes. Is it Brian?
Brad, I'm not brave, I am shameless.
Oh,
So that's even
okay.
better.
Yeah, that's what we need right now. Yeah.
It was very effective use of the metaphors, and one thing that struck me was you had a very effective dramatic pause.
Oh,
Right in
cool.
the middle that just kind of like drew you in, okay, what's next, what's next? That was a very good setup for the next phase of the song.
Cool.
Effective use of silence, that was good.
Thanks.
That's a very powerful technique, that people are in a rush to get their message out.
Yeah.
And the brain sometimes needs a moment to reflect. And the Japanese filmmaker, I forget, Kiyosaki,
Oh, yeah.
has a
Yeah.
concept called ma.
Right.
That pause, that moment to let you kind of dive into the story for just a second.
Yeah.
Use that well.
Yeah. Cool. Oh, thanks very much. Yeah. Yes, great.
Yeah, I loved all of the kind of crime, like, you know, kind of different criminal metaphors. I think it was really effective. And with so many different ones sprinkled throughout that really kind of captured that idea of someone stealing your heart and
Yeah.
not being nice with it. But
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. I really like playing with the ironic distance between the narrator, if you like, and the songwriter, which would be me. So I like using the unreliable narrator. And I'll play you a song later on called Teddy Bear, the one who kills his girlfriend, because he loves her. It's not because I feel like that's an appropriate response to a situation. It's because in the song he's trying to justify why he did it, and he's saying, look, I'm normal, I just had a moment that was, it could happen to anybody. But the point of the song is to say, well, throughout the song he gets crazier and crazier as he's trying to justify it, and you realize you have to look at how he's saying it, not just what he's saying. So I think that's a common misconception that sometimes people have, that all songwriting is authentic and that the singer is truly feeling what's being said, or the songwriter is truly conveying what they feel. But I like playing with that narrator. So in the sake of time, I'm gonna move on to the next bit, because there's some interesting stuff in this. Thank you very much for your feedback here. Tension. Let's look at tension. So, for the purposes of this workshop, I'm using tension to refer to the structure, arrangement, and musicality of a song. This is a map that approximates the different energy or hype levels of a typical hit song. You may say it's the shape of a pop song. And this may be interesting because clearly, for one reason or another, a hit song resonates with a lot of people. And as you can see, there are 3 distinct builds and then releases, each getting progressively larger than the other. And as the song develops, the choruses become the focal point of a lot of energy. And one way to get that energy is by building and building the tension. And the really interesting thing I think about tension in songwriting is that a lot of it can come from the arrangement and the performance. Let's talk a little bit about arrangement. So when I started to self-produce my album, I realized just how important arrangement is. Arrangement being how you choose to use the instruments and instrumentation, including voice as well, considering the voice as an instrument. And a hugely successful songwriter, Max Martin, talks about how the human ear can only hear 3 or so things going on at any one time. So in an arrangement, this means that you have to decide what you want the listener to focus on and what you can have going on in the background on like a subliminal level. And one of the things that was really interesting, one of the grants that I got, I used to train myself in production and mixing. And I got some training from a guy, he's actually based in Germany, but he's British, and he is like a guru of small studio engineering. And we broke down one of the Billie Eilish songs produced by her brother Phineas. And it's amazing how much is going on in the stereo field. So you're focused on her voice and you're focused on the BVs, and I'm gonna play a clip of Bad Guy. That's a lot about the kick drum and the bass and her vocals. But if you actually listen to it with stereo headphones, and if you listen to it in a studio space, there are loads and loads and loads of things going on around, like little voice things, little creepy noises that she makes. And this all adds to the tension, adds to the build. So let's just take a very quick, actually the sound isn't going to work, is it? But you guys, you know the song Bad Guy? Billie Eilish was a hit recently. Have a listen to it in headphones at some point, I'm sure you do already, but try and focus on either the left side of the stereo field or the right side of the stereo field, and try and listen for things that are there, but not the focus of attention. They don't have the spotlight on them. It's really interesting. And when you're writing songs going forward, especially if you're producing them, have a think about what you can do subliminally to add to the tension. Where are you placing that spotlight? And that can be done through volume. It can be done through creating space in a mix so that you just hear one thing more than the rest. But also, what are you thickening? What are you thinning? What are you taking away? And what are you adding for the overall feel? These are some really important things to think about. Okay, moving swiftly on, let's talk about dynamics. So, first of all, does anybody have any questions? Because I realize I'm kind of reading, I'm kind of talking, and I'm doing a lot of talking at you. Does anybody have any questions about what we've done so far? Is it interesting-ish so far? Okay, good, cool. That's good. If it's boring, then just indicate to me, and I'll try and mix it up a little. So another way to play with tension is with dynamics. So dynamics, can anybody give me a definition of dynamics? What do I mean by dynamics? Loud and soft, yeah. Yes, yeah. What about in terms of speed?
Fast and slow.
Fast and slow, yeah. Or pace, maybe, is a good way to think about it. When are we accelerating? And that could just be in delivery of vocals. Often, when it comes to recording a song, we'll choose a tempo. But there are all these different tricks that people have. For instance, say you set a tempo at 145 beats per minute. Some producers swear, absolutely swear, by when you hit the chorus, you change it to 146 beats per minute. And they say, that is what made the hit, which can never be tested and never be proved. But if that's what you lean on, that's what you lean on. I haven't personally tried that one. But you also might want to play with the time signature, right? could be a song in 3/4 up until you get to the chorus, the middle 8, it changes to 6/8. All these things keep people's interest, and you can use them to build attention as well. Another thing, sorry, was it Brad?
Yes.
Brad, what you said, you preempted where I was getting to with the silence, which is great that you picked it up, and thanks for the compliment about the playing. Because I think sometimes there is nothing more powerful. I used to be an adder. I used to add lines, and I used to add things to try and make it better, and try and make it sound better. But I now believe that there is nothing more powerful sometimes than when you take something away. And the process of doing that really makes you contemplate the space you're in and what space you have to maneuver in. Yes, Brad?
There was a French philosopher, I can't remember his name, said perfection is achieved not when nothing more can be added, but when nothing more can be taken away.
That's very nice, yeah, I like that. And when you start producing as well, you start playing around with things like EQ, so equalization, without trying to get too technical, probably because I don't, it's kind of still magic to me as well, but you add different frequencies to emphasize different parts of the sound. So you can add low-end frequencies that make things sound deeper, or you can add high-end frequencies to make things sound, have more air and sound closer. Because things that are closer to you, actually physically closer to you, you hear the high-end frequencies much more. That's how that works. But Brad, that I used to go in, I used to add a load of things to try and, but actually what you want to be doing with EQ, I have learned, some people would still disagree with me, is looking for things that you want to subtract. Because really, if you had the perfect recording, you wouldn't need to add or subtract anything. But you record something, you listen with critical ear and say, actually, it would sound better if I took this away. Like, I think what I'm trying to say is to get to the perfect recording, it's often a process of subtraction as opposed to addition, which I think is what your philosopher friend was saying. You have to remember his name though one day, Brad, just to credit him. And then there's performance. So I've spoken a little bit about recording and live music. But all of these things come together in performance. So, believe it or not, maybe you don't believe it because of my performance, but I did take singing lessons briefly. And I remember being fascinated by my teacher's knowledge of all of the different types of little sounds that singers make. I've been more of a songwriter than a singer, so I haven't given it that much thought. But all the little like cries and moans and the dynamics of singing, they obviously add to drama, tension. And I am the first to admit that I've never been very good at that. I consider myself a terrible actor, and performance has always made me a little uncomfortable. But some people are just really excellent at it. Some people create alter egos, like Lady Gaga, David Bowie. Does anybody know Ben Folds? Excellent performer, partly because he's a virtuoso pianist, so it kind of must be easy to be a decent performer if you're that good on the piano. But yes, Brad, you preempted me. I've written down here, a single pause in a song can have the same impact as the notes and lyrics that are actually sung. So I try and play with that a lot, definitely.
You can pay me later.
I'll pay you later, yeah. I'm going to just make a donation to that philosopher that you can't remember the name of. Okay, I have another song. Would you like to hear another song?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, cool. Thank you for wanting to.
Okay, so this one is, it was originally done on piano, it's called Freestanding. But I rearranged it on guitar for that show that I did last week for the breakfast show, Coast Live it's called. So the aim of this is I was really trying to think about the build of the arrangement. I really tried to think about that piano and then I tried to translate it to guitar. Okay, so let's see if you agree that I managed to capture some things. Is it all in my head? something I said, something I didn't do. Sorry, I messed it up. Was it all a mistake? Something I break, something that's broken me too. But I'll get over you, 'cause you told me to. But you didn't have to let me in just to shut me out. All the times you worried that I'd let you down. But it was freestanding now. Now it's every single place that we used to place that I see your face. God, I see your face all the time. But I'll keep trying, I'll keep pushing through. And one day maybe I'll get through to you. But you didn't have to let me in just to shut me out. All the times you told me it was me who's gonna let you down. But who's freestanding now? You did what you were scared I'd do. And just like that, two becomes one. Pretending that I'll get over you, because you told me to. But you shut me out. You let me down. Said things would get a little sad over here, but who's freestanding now?
Yeah.
Thank you. What do you think? What do you think of the kind of build? Did I manage to capture it? Is there anything I can improve? I'm open to feedback as well. Any comments, suggestions after that? Or
I was 17 years old all over again. You know, a girlfriend.
well,
That song took me back to the age
Oh,
of 17 when I was
yeah.
getting over her.
oh, okay. Oh, really? Oh,
You
wow.
made that very well.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, I can't think of any better feedback than that. Thank you. Yes.
I really liked how you used the dynamics to kind of complement the vocals, and so the dynamics would kind of signal a different shift to the song, but also at the same time accentuate the vocals.
Oh, cool. Thank you. That's a relief because I used to just play the guitar really loud. Didn't even think about it. And actually, Kira, my lovely, she's not my girlfriend, she's my wife, was really key at giving me feedback about when to do that. So thank you for that. Yeah.
You know, what I like is how in the chorus, the way you pull apart the word freestanding into freestanding, but the fact that you kind of created that rhythm, it made it land. Who's free standing now? It's kind of like that. Yeah, so.
I've never even thought about that. So.
Yeah, because like freestanding sounds like a strong thing,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
then the way obviously it's
Standing is a bit more lonely.
Yeah,
Like,
I love it.
yeah. Oh, thanks. I never even thought about that. So thank you. Did you have something to say? Something?
Yeah, I liked in the beginning, you're pondering, you're asking questions, the who, was it all this, was it all that?
Yeah,
And then you use
yeah.
the pauses in between,
Yeah.
as if you're thinking about it. And
Right.
then you build to that moment where you say emphatically, who's free standing now? And
Yeah.
that's like where you built to, was that, you came to that realization and then
Yeah.
free flows
Yeah.
from there. I really enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Yeah.
And it was very intentional because in the original version, I answer that question. I say I'm freestanding, but in this kind of updated version, I didn't want to answer the question because I feel like the answer is there. Like it's pretty obvious who's freestanding. So it was an opportunity. That's another thing. Reworking old songs, even your old stuff, gives you a chance to listen to try and work with them as if you're almost a bit more of a stranger to them. So yeah, I'm glad you felt that. Thanks. Okay, I am aware of staying on time, so let's get to the final bit, which is relief. So I'd like to bring up a chap who I've already mentioned. Does anybody know this guy, Max Martin? Yes, yes. You are a songwriter, I can tell. What do you know about him?
I mean, I know that he's a producer and co-writes with so many people.
Yeah, so he's a Swedish producer that lives in the US now. I think he's had as many or kind of one fewer #1 hits as John Lennon and Paul McCartney. He's one of those in the shadows geniuses. His real big breakthrough was with the early Britney Spears stuff. And then he just wrote all of the pop hits for like decades. So, NSYNC. Who was the one that Justin Timberlake was in? What were they called? Oh yeah, I get confused. Because in the UK we had the Backstreet Boys. They were like a knockoff version of NSYNC, but don't tell them I said that. And most recently he's had huge hits with The Weeknd. And the woman who sang that song, Raw. Katy Perry, yeah. Sorry, I feel like I offended you then, Grace. Yeah, couldn't remember her name. So yeah, he employs something that's akin to a scientific method when it comes to songwriting. He really equates songwriting with maths, and he himself was in a band for a while, but then he realized that his real niche was in producing, and more in kind of the technical structure of songs. And he kind of developed a blueprint for his songs, and then he just ran with it. And one example comes from the fact that people's attention often starts to wane in a song's second verse. Any ideas why it might start to wane in the second verse in particular? Yes, Brad?
They start predicting what's next.
Yeah, it's something to do with that. Yeah. Let me see what I think it's really because there's a lot of repetition in songs, and often that's a strength. Repetition can help you build emphasis and build in general, and also add to the catchiness of a song. But too much repetition can be a little bit boring, especially if you know where it's headed. I think that's a key thing. And often a second verse is really just a repeat melodically, and sometimes thematically, of the first verse. So does anybody know what Max Martin does in order to get around this issue? He chops the second verse in half. Pretty standard move that he uses all the time. If you listen to, he had a hit song about 3 years ago with The Weeknd called Blinding Lights. It was on the radio everywhere. Next time you hear it, if it comes on the radio, take a listen to the structure. The first verse is twice as long as the second verse. And he has the first verse, and then the pre-chorus, which is like the build into the chorus, and then the chorus, and then the second verse, and it gets to that pre-chorus in half the time. And this works. This really works to carry people through the song. So definitely a little tip there, and trick to try if you're writing a song. It might even work for poetry, Brad, I'm not sure. I don't know if you have pre-choruses in poetry, but I was going to play you the example of Blinding Lights. It probably would take up too much time anyway, so I'm grateful for the sound system not working. But definitely check that out on your own. And all that to say that if we have good tension and good drama in a song, we also need moments of relief, and they all work hand in hand together. The middle eight of a song is another example of relief. The middle eight, sometimes known as the bridge, is that little bit before the final chorus that changes. It changes. It could change in terms of the makeup of the chords. It could change in terms of the theme, often it does. I think there's something similar in poetry, right, Brad? In a sonnet, that you kind of, is that right? You move away from the main story and then you come back to it. You would know better than I. But all these are ways of incorporating relief into the song. And my point here really is that you need the drama, you need the tension, but those two are only good if you also provide the relief. And there are different ways of doing that that I've tried to sort of illustrate there. Yes, one of the great things you can do in a song, because it's so repetitive, is establish a pattern, establish the rules of play, if you like, and then break them. Really, really powerful thing that many people do really, really well. And one way of doing that might be with relief. And of course, choruses as well. A chorus is really that climactic moment where you have built, maybe you've asked a question, maybe you have, just built the tension in general, and the chorus is that moment of release. And the best choruses, in my opinion, are the absolute moment of release. They're the moment where you just let go. And then you come back to the verse and you start building the tension again back up to the chorus. And you'll notice as well that in production as a song develops, the choruses also need to change a bit of flavor though each time. So it might be an instrument is added, an instrument is taken away, but my point really is that whilst there's a lot of repetition, that there are different, really well-produced songs add little different flavors and touches in throughout to keep you interested and to give those moments of break and relief. Okay, at the risk of repeating myself too much, relief also comes in a more philosophical way in the form of connection. And for this, I mean that for the songwriter, the performer, for the listener, we've all had that familiar feeling when it seems like a song can perfectly say something that you couldn't otherwise put into words. And that connection, I think, is a really powerful form of relief. And you can have a physical connection as well with songs. Obviously, there are those songs that you just can't stay still to. You have to get up and move. And I think that not only is that connection to the song, but often it can lead to a connection amongst people and amongst groups of people. And finally, before I play you my last tune, and before we have any questions that I can try and answer, this is a big one for me, as you can probably tell at the minute. Catharsis. Do we know this term, catharsis? Mm-hmm. Cool. So I really like playing with the tension between a chirpy tune and dark themes. I think there's something about that I'm drawn to for some reason. And if you start writing songs, and I'm sure you find this with your poetry, Brad, and anybody that does any writing, once you've written enough of them, you can start to see themes in what you do. So you can start to kind of get to know yourself, or at least a part of yourself, in a way that maybe otherwise you wouldn't have done. This contrast between dark themes and chirpy tunes allows me to explore ideas that are perhaps otherwise a bit uncouth or distasteful, but in a safe and playful way. And catharsis is originally about experiencing something in fiction, and as you experience that, you also experience strong emotions, and you kind of rid yourself of these emotions so that they don't play out in the real world. Another good example of this would be the recent Taylor Swift song Karma. That's a really good example. Can anybody else think of any other examples where people use songs to deal in dark subjects? Or even a conflict between the subject matter and the way the song is conveyed? Has anybody heard that fairly recent song by the artist SZA? Kill Bill, yeah. Does it really well. I think it does it really well. Again, it's murder, but it's all about how it's really catchy and it's really light, melodically light, but it's about how she kills her ex. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a silly song by the, formerly known as the Dixie Chicks, but the
Okay.
Chicks, I think called Goodbye Earl.
Okay.
It's another one that's kind of
Yeah.
sort of happy, but it's about basically a woman who had an abusive
Okay.
husband and letting her try to help her women basically kill him and bury him in
Okay.
the yard.
Oh.
Pretend not to know where he vanished.
Right.
Oh, like Maxwell Silverhammer by the Beatles.
Oh,
Yeah. That's another really good example. The two that I really like that aren't about death. So does anybody know the song There She Goes by the Laws? Yeah, which is dual meaning, right? I think it's actually about heroin addiction, but they're using the premise of talking about a woman. But some of the lines from that are, there she goes coursing through my veins. And another one, Golden Brown by the Stranglers, do you know that one? That's a great song. I would highly recommend listening to that. It's an old one, but it's great. It's got a really great riff. Cool, so I'm going to play my final number, which is the Teddy Bear, which is the one about the guy who kills his girlfriend because he loves her. So, yeah, don't take it literally.
Something snapped inside my head. Wasn't me laying in this bed. I'm an normal man, you know it's true. Everybody flips theory, even you. And I put no one above you. I only killed you cause I love you. It's cause I love you, teddy bear. I love the way you stare. And I love your golden hair. It's cause I love you. Well, I love you in disguise. And I love your creamy eyes. And I hope you realize so hard for a couple of years. We were almost happy, but you still shed those tears. And I tried to explain all the words and the games that you played. I'm sorry I let you down. I'm sorry I messed you around. I'm sorry I got stressed and all my senses were a mess. I'm sorry I let you down. I'm sorry I messed you around. I'm sorry I got stressed. I'm sorry that you're I'm a normal man, you know it's true. Everybody flips to even you. Something snapped inside my head. I saw you there and I saw red. I'm a normal man, you know it's true. Everybody flips to even you. And I put no one above. I only killed you cause I love you. It's cause I love you, teddy bear. I love the way you stare. And I love your golden hair. It's cause I love you. Oh, I love you in disguise. And I love your creamy eyes. And I hope you realize that I've been working so hard for a couple of years. We were almost happy, but you still shed those tears. I tried to explain all the words and the games that you played. I'm sorry I let you down. I'm sorry I messed you around. I'm sorry I got stressed and all my senses were a mess. I'm sorry I let you down. I'm sorry I messed you around. I'm sorry I got stressed. I'm sorry that you're I'm sorry that you're dead.
Thank you. I always forget it's got a real barcode thing going. My hand gets really tired now. But yeah, any feedback, anything? Did it illustrate any of the points? Yeah.
Probably get tired of my voice, but that setting up a pattern and breaking that pattern,
Oh yeah.
that's the classic setup for about 90% of jokes.
Right. Yeah.
You give the audience a certain expectation, then you turn the table. And that's where the humor comes in.
Yeah, really good point. And I think that sort of speaks to my point about good songwriting is really just good writing in whatever form that takes. Could be comedy, could be drama, could be novels. Yeah. Grace.
Yeah, I also really like, we talked about silence a little bit, but withholding is also powerful. When the audience is expecting, waiting, I'm sorry that you knew the dead was coming, when's it coming, and then just pulling that off at the very end. There's something that's so satisfying about that. Kind of.
Cool. That's good. I always get embarrassed about saying that line, just in case people take it too literally. So we just have a couple of minutes. Does anybody have any general questions? Anything they'd like to say or share with the group? At all? I actually have this very fancy thing which I have not made use of, which apparently if you speak into it, you can use it and I can throw it at you to ask a question. So could somebody ask at least one question just so we can do that? Yes?
So you mentioned before that you do like scores
Oh yeah.
for short
Yeah,
films.
yeah.
How do you apply your songwriting structure to that?
Oh, that's a really good question. So I really like the idea of writing within constraints. So like when it comes to films, you're obviously given a material and you have to respond to it. So it's less about the structure of like a Max Martin song and more about the structure of the scene. So I try and use the same tools and techniques but responding to the scene rather than like a 3-minute pop song. But thank you, yeah, good question. Good question. Any more for any more?
Sorry.
Do you know why it is that the conventional pop song is 3 minutes and not a lot shorter or a lot longer?
Do you know, I have read a few different theories about this. I think there are there's probably more than two camps, but two camps. One, that the sort of medium, being the radio, influences the form, being the fact that people had shorter time slots, so they needed to create shorter songs to get on the radio. I think over time, intros have got a lot shorter, but I also think that there's something natural about balance and the way we like our stories and the way we like to receive information. So I don't know if you've heard of this book called, I'm going to forget the name now, the Joseph Campbell book, can you remember it? Hero with 1,000 Faces. Yeah, and the argument with that is that there is this kind of central myth that we all respond to, and I wonder if there's a bit of that going on as well, that over time things refine and popular opinion shapes things, and maybe we just respond naturally, maybe 3 minutes is kind of what we want. But I don't know the answer, there's just a few theories. But do you have any thoughts, Susanna?
Yeah, I mean, to me it does seem like, coming at it from a totally different point of view, there's a concept called Dunbar's number.
Oh yeah.
Which kind of points to the number of meaningful relationships a person can have, and this is an evolutionary psychologist that basically came up with this by literally looking at the size of primate tribes and looking at the size of their cerebral cortex or prefrontal cortex, and then basically scaling it up and saying, oh, okay, then if this part of our brain is that much bigger, then the same ratio would indicate about 150 to 300 or something like that. So to me, to answer your question, I would say maybe there's something in our mind about our ability to hold a story. We want story, but then our ability to kind of like hold it in one breath somehow. I don't know.
Yeah. It's funny, I read about Dunbar's number very recently. So I think that's time, unless there's any more questions I had. If you want to find any more of my music or anything about me, that's my website. And if you ever want to get in touch and discuss any of these things, that is my Gmail. And apart from that, I should just say thank you very much for being such a great audience. I was a bit nervous about this, as you can probably tell a little bit, but you've been fantastic to deal with and respond to, and thanks for the nice questions and nice feedback.